You are my universe, and
Hi everyone, I'm Elsha Septia, the host for this night. I would like to say welcome to our show, the talk show that will truly preview the great experience of many people. Tonight, we are going to discuss an excellence journal. The title of this journal is Self-Made Vocabulary Cards and Differentiated Assessment to Improve an Autistic Learner's English Vocabulary Mastery. Published at 2020, and the others are Klaras and Nata. Before I call them in this meeting, I would like to give some information about our speakers tonight. Nata and Klaras are teachers for English in a special education school. They have a lot of experience teaching humans that have special needs. They have been teaching for about 5 years, and now they live in Yogyakarta and teach there. Okay, I think it's enough for the introduction, and we have to call them now. Please, Nata and Claras. Hi, Nata and Claras. I'm so grateful that you have taken the time to attend this event. Thank you, Nata and Claras. By the way, how are you?
Hi Elsha, you're welcome. I'm in a very good condition now.
Hi Elsha, I'm grateful too because we are invited to this talk show tonight. I'm great, El.
Okay, so can we start the interview now?
Yes, please.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, Nata and Claras. I'm surprised to see the journal. I think it's great and I think it's great research and very important to discuss. Can I know why you want to conduct this research?
The study is conducted because we want to employ a differentiated instruction consisting of two treatments in vocabulary building class. This was used for self-made vocabulary cards as the basic learning materials and differentiated assessment consisting of quizzes, mid-semester assessment.
Yes, and final assessment providing opportunities for recycling and repetition beneficial for vocabulary retention and learning in general.
Oh, so you want to employ the differentiated instruction consisting of those two treatment in vocabulary class.
Yes, that's right.
So what is the purpose of this study?
Okay, the purpose of this study is to fill the gap in literature attributed to the scarcity of empirical studies on special education in the ESL setting.
Yeah, therefore, the study is made to investigate the use of self-made vocabulary cards and differentiated assessment that can help the students with autism in learning English vocabulary and how the student is facilitated in learning English vocabulary through these two treatments.
Oh, so you want to know how the use of self-made vocabulary cards and differentiated assessment might affect the learning of vocabulary for people with special needs. I'm really impressed. So, what is the results? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so excited. No, we have to keep it until the end of this interview. Okay, so I want to ask you, how about the participant of this research? Can you mention it in this interview?
We observe an autistic learner's participant performance when given differentiated instruction in the form of self-made vocabulary cards and differentiated assessments explained further later. This participant performance was also measuring using comparison of his scores and the mean scores of the class in several places.
So, how about their parents or their executor? How do they respond to the research?
Their parents have a good reaction with this research. For example, Benny, the participant's male student with autism at the age of 22. He studied in an English Language Education Department, LAD, of a university in Java, Indonesia. He was at the time of one of the treatments, a third semester student in the first semester of 2018 until 2019 academic year. He voluntarily participated in the study and showed his enthusiasm during the process. His mother saw the study and responded to it positively.
Okay, so their parents support their child to be participants in your study.
Yep, that's right.
And how about the methods?
So we have differentiated instruction for the student participants. Treatment conducted for the student with autism in vocabulary building class in accordance with the principles of accommodation and modification in education for students with special needs. For example, accommodation refers to some changes teachers make that affect how learners with special needs learn materials, mainly to help them work or overcome their disabilities in learning. Modification means changes that teachers make on what is required to be studied or learned by the student with special needs. Another example of modification is allowing a learner with special needs not to do same level of work as his or her regular classmates. In other words, modification changes the standard for a student. They change what the student is expected to master. Bearing these two principles in mind, with the principle of modification being more prominent, I conducted two treatments to facilitate the student participant with autism, and these are the use of self-made vocabulary cards and differentiated assessment.
Self-made vocabulary card every other week. A student in vocabulary building class were to make 10 vocabulary cards at home based on specific topic assigned at the beginning of the semester. The mastery of their self-made vocabulary card was assessed in a review assessment conducted every other week in which they would meet me one by one. The use of vocabulary card was considered beneficial when learners themselves made them and they contained key elements about the target word. In total, there were 6 review assessments assessing learners' mastery of their self-made vocabulary cards. Benny was also required to make his own card and join the review assessment. He, however, was required to make cards whose total number depended on his commitment the week before. So he made a commitment as to how many cards he was able to make and master, and he should try to keep his commitment. Differentiated assessment, another assessment conducted in vocabulary building class, was bi-weekly quizzes in which learners were required to do an 100 item matching task where they should match Indonesian word or phrases on the left and the English equivalent on the right. In total, there were 5 quizzes. The year before, in the 2017-2018 academic year, when Benny took the class for the first time as a first semester student, he did not receive any differentiated assessment. At the time, the same with the other student. He was required to do exactly the same quizzes and ended up scoring very low. He reported obtaining 17, 25, 28, or somewhere around that out of 100. He reported that he had difficulty in matching all the words within the given time handle, as he would suddenly feel overwhelmed and His eyes hurt when seeing so many items he could not handle. As such, in the present studies vocabulary building class, he was expected to master and self-made vocabulary class as all the words he wrote in the card would come out in the quizzes.
The same as the biweekly quizzes, there was a mid-semester assessment and final assessment in which learners were expected to do 100-item matching tests. As for Benny, following the same pattern he had for his biweekly quizzes, he would need to master all the words he wrote in his vocabulary cards, as these words will all come out in the assessments. With regard to the grading, I made a differentiation for Benny. The maximum score he could obtain for his mastering his vocabulary cards in biweekly review assessment was 100 per 100, the same as other students.
What Klaras just said was based on the consideration that the load of study work they did was relatively the same. However, the maximum score he could obtain in the quizzes, mid-semester assessment, and final assessment was 65, 64, per 100, whilst his peers doing 100-item matching test could obtain the maximum score of 100 per 100. This was made based on the consideration that the other student needed to study and master a lot more words than Benny did.
Oh, so you guys made the variative instruction for each participant according to their needs, and you collect the data of their score. Klaras and Nata, so can you describe to me what the main findings of the study are?
Okay, from this study, we found that Benny showed a satisfying performance in the terms of his diligence in making vocabulary cards. He started with 10 cards in the first review assessment on 3 September 2018 because it was the default number of cards required from all students. At the end of the assessment, I praised him on his mastery of the cards and asked him whether he felt overwhelmed with the number. He willingly challenged himself to make 20 cards, doubled the number his classmates should make. I praised him for his bravery in stretching his limit and gave him feedback not to make cards from red paper because they were extremely difficult to read.
Wow, he's amazing. The self-card has a positive impact. Even Benny tried to make a make 20 cards, which means he's already beyond what you help for in the beginning.
Yes, and at the end of the semester, he obtained 95.83 per 100 for the category of completeness of vocabulary cards, which means that he throughout the semester had made his vocabulary cards based on the previously set criteria and had never missed any review assessment on which the card's completeness was also assessed. His score was slightly higher than the class mean score, or 92.77 per 100, which may imply that despite his making more cards than any of his classmates, he could show diligence, consistency, and persistence.
Super. He was persistent. Despite making more cards than any other friend, he could still reach the highest score. He was consistent and persevering. Okay, if so, the result of this study of this activity must be very important for the education, right? Can you say anything about it all?
Sure. First, learners with autism need teachers who are supportive, understanding their limitation, and at the same time, giving them opportunities to experience the process of learning in the best possible ways. in accordance with their conditions, optimizing their potential and getting around their deficiencies. Even any differentiated instruction given to autistic learners should not solely be viewed as a way to make them pass their classes. They otherwise could not pass. Furthermore, learners with autism can also be taught to assume certain responsibility or commitment. Teachers support giving them reassurance can play a critical role in building their confidence to fulfill certain commitments they have made previously.
Additionally, that the learner participant's mother responded positively to the teaching innovations or treatments given to him. As previously mentioned, may indicate parental support, acknowledging the uniqueness of learners with special needs, and at the same time, trying any possible ways to help them learn better. This openness could have a critical role as well.
Okay, now we know that autistic learners need supportive teachers to increase their comfort in following the study and increase their talent.
Correct.
So, can I suggest you for the next study?
Yeah, of course.
What study do you want to suggest to us? Just tell it now and we will do research about it if possible.
Considering the critical role of teachers in inclusive classroom in affecting the quality of instruction and the rarity of empirical studies on teachers' beliefs and practice in teacher studies with students with the autism in the ESL setting. Indonesian ESL practitioners are encouraged to investigate various aspects in the field further.
Oh, okay. I think it's possible to do.
Yeah, it's not just possible, but I think we have to do the research about it to make a better education for the autistic.
Okay, we are on the cusp of the show. You guys are so inspiring. Hopefully, we will see you next time on the program and bring up the subject of your other journals. Good luck with whatever you guys want to do. I believe you are good people and will be given a way to make improvement in education. Thank you for participating today. What you guys share is very beneficial and certainly so beneficial to the audience. Thank you, Klaras and Nata.
Thank you, Elsha, for having me.
Anytime, Elsha.
Okay, the talk show is over. See you on the next Every Talk Show. Thank you and goodbye.